And I would like to hand over to Mr. Girish to summarize the event. Thank you.
Hello everyone, good evening again. I think with this power-packed evening with so much to know and so much to learn from, there are a lot of questions we all have. We need to understand from the creator and the complete support system here that Somyaji, we would want to know where and how did this seed of Pragya, the thought, where exactly it started?
So, I was leading a life of working, sleeping, and going out. And the journey started with learning there's something more than just the body, the self. So that is where the journey started, and the seed of Pragya was born when the Dalai Lama asked me to take the wisdom of the East to the West and focus upon the education. At the time, I was just wondering why me, but eventually there is a lot that we have in knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge in the Vedas, there's lots of knowledge in the Upanishads, and there's lots of knowledge that has made this mic. There's lots of knowledge, lots of science that has gone behind pharmaceuticals for us learning from the West. Why were they so successful so quickly? And where did we lose our focus? So that is the study of Pragya, eventually just not about the mind, body, and the breath, but also what worked for the West and what did not work for the East.
So as we say, as you call Richard, Saint Richard, so Saint Richard, would you be in a position to tell us or guide us on the fact that how is it different in the West than the way spirituality is looked up towards this side of the world? And how do you think Switzerland is the best destination?
Perhaps before I answer that, I worry when I hear distinctions between East and West, because it suggests there is a kind of polarity that is hardwired into our world. And in my experience, those polarities do not serve us well, because they imply a division or a separation. And I think what we need to think about is how we can find pathways to commonality, how we can identify those things which are common. And one of the things that I listen and learn when I come to India is that we all have much, much more in common than we have that is different. And that we need to exercise and rehearse those things we have in common. But part of the reason it's difficult to do that is the language we use may have different connotations. So if my learning today was to listen to perspectives on the mind and the intellect, and I will be very frank, they don't necessarily align with the definitions of mind and intellect that I've exercised through the course of my life. However, the ability to synthesize those, and again, to see the common lines, I may have the same views, but different labels. And we live in a world where labels are quite important. As an educator, I try to encourage young people, and indeed everyone, to think not only about the denotation of a word. If I say dog, that's an animal with 4 legs that barks. But to think also about the connotation. When I use the word care, what are the connotations of care? Are they positive connotations? If I use the word terrorist, how is that different from the word freedom fighter? They may be the two labels for the same thing, but viewed through different lenses. So I'm going to wheel back to your original question, which is, how can we bring the message from the East to the West? For me, it's about the confluence of rivers of wisdom that flow and develop and intermingle. And I think the conversations we can have also need to be around where are those little differences? Because if we can learn to resolve those differences, we can learn to prevent the conflicts and misunderstandings that become toxic in our world.
So when we say we're looking at creating Pragya 2 in Switzerland and drive this sentiment further in your own version.
Okay, well, I think there are a number of things bundled into that. If I come back to the issue of Switzerland, that's a really good testing word for denotation and connotation. Switzerland, the denotation is it's a small landlocked country in the middle of Europe. The connotation is that it's a country of beauty. It's, in a way, a jewel on earth where nature is still, in many cases, pristine. Connotations can be misleading. There are parts of Switzerland that are not like that at all. But it is a bit of a jewel, a natural jewel. In terms of how we can mobilize people to be engaged, I think we need to see how in this effort to bring rivers together, of bringing confluence, that we understand behaviors and expectations. Maybe I broke a few conventions by bringing somebody up on stage, and the idea that we try to break through this fourth wall that sometimes means that you're sitting there and your brain is switched into listening mode. And when our brain is in listening mode, actually other parts of it are turned off. And in fact, even the listening mode can get turned off. So what I would like to encourage as we look forward to taking Pragya out is thinking how you become primary actors and drivers. I often use this phrase that we need people in the world not to be spectators, but actors. And trying to link to some of the things we've heard today, we have desires and aspirations. We'd like to be a film star, we'd like to be famous, or all these things, and those can go around in our head. Actually, there's nothing stopping all of us being actors rather than spectators. And I think occasions like this, I'd love to see them create opportunities for a flow of wisdom that is in multiple directions.
Is that okay? I've just taken the mic. So, like we had said earlier, we're sowing the seeds of wisdom from years of history and the world which is running from an education system which is about 500 years old. It has served us. It has served us in many ways. We're going to have our Festival of Knowledge in Switzerland, where we're going to have discussions about how we can merge in a space of knowing what was beneficial for us, what is beneficial for us, and what is going to be beneficial for us and our generations at current and generations to come. I thank you all for being here today. I know it's Delhi. I am from Delhi, and I know nobody likes to step out for an intellectual on a Friday night. But thank you. I really, really like your presence and appreciate it. And thank you, Girish, and thank you, Richard. Thank you.